The sky above Vandro's 4 cracked open like an old scar split wide. The Empire had arrived. From the upper atmosphere, a gleaming dreadnought pierced the clouds in a silent descent, its belly shimmering with electromagnetic ripples. The land beneath, dry and reddish with scattered iron-rich brush, trembled under the displaced air. Every settler in the valley had heard the stories, seen the holovids. But nothing prepared them for the size of it. Empire's ships weren't built to impress, they were built to impose. Captain Elara Griggs watched from the overlook ridge, arms folded, face shadowed by her wide-brimmed hat. A scout drone hovered at her shoulder, relaying heat signatures and movement patterns. She didn't flinch as a secondary shuttle detached and hissed downward toward the town square. 6 squadrons. 2 drone platoons. Standard Imperial lockdown formation. Her second-in-command, Raj said. He tapped through the readings on his wrist pad. They're serious this time. Elara didn't respond at first. Her gaze held steady on the long column of metal soldiers unloading from the shuttle below. Dull blue armor, glowing insignia on their chests, not painted, but embedded through kinetic pulse coding. They moved in perfect sync. Not even dust clung to them. Their boots hovered 2 inches above the ground. Course they're serious, she muttered. Empire doesn't send a cruiser for conversation. In the square, the town's council had assembled under duress. Farmers, engineers, teachers, all standing rigid before a man in high-collared black armor. His voice, cold and clipped, rang through loudspeakers. I am Strategos Commander Zeltrax Vorn. By the charter of Imperial expansion, Vandro's 4 is now under protective annexation. This is not a hostile occupation, unless resistance is chosen. He paused, expecting applause. Silence answered. We bring order. We bring efficiency. Your outdated systems and cultural resistance will be catalogued, and where necessary, restructured. Elara tilted her head, just enough to catch the edge of his smirk. Protective annexation, she said, spitting the words like sour wine. Funny how they always come with weapons drawn. Raj leaned closer. We can't match that. Not with plasma. Not with drones. We're outgunned before this starts. We don't need to match them, Elara said. Just make them bleed in ways they've never seen. She turned and led him down the slope toward a concealed outpost, little more than a modified barn and 2 shipping containers buried into the hillside. Inside, lit only by low-power lanterns, was the weapon. 7 feet long. Iron-barreled. Crank-fed. It sat atop a repurposed hoverlift, covered in canvas and grease-stained cloth. Dust clung to its black metal casing like reverence. Elara pulled the cloth back. The Gatling gun. You can't be serious, Raj said, half laughing. That thing's a fossil. No wireless. No heat signature. No electronic signature at all. It spins and spits, and doesn't ask permission. She patted the crank gently. Restored it myself. Took a year. Fires .58 caliber lead, non-standard to confuse their ballistic analyzers. The Empire's never seen anything it can hack, until now. Raj circled it slowly, then crouched beside the ammo belts, each cartridge glinting dully in the dim light. You know this won't win the war. No, Elara said. But it'll write the first sentence. Back in the square, the Empire's ground squads were already scanning buildings and tagging assets. The patrol leader stopped in front of an old mechanical tractor, puzzled. No energy signature, he said to his partner. It's manual. Why would anyone use manual machinery in the 25th century? These primitives. They cling to nostalgia like it's armor. Zeltrax received the update aboard his temporary command hub. He scrolled through holographic maps of Vandro's IV's infrastructure. Low-tier civilization. Tactile interfaces, combustion engines, analog comms. Nothing here worth military escalation. We'll proceed with behavioral correction. To him, it was a minor assignment. One more mark on his clean record. Elara stood on a cliff's edge as night fell, the Empire's campfires flickering like infection across the land. They're making themselves comfortable, Raj said beside her. Good, Elara replied. Means they'll sleep soundly. First rule of hunting, let the predator feel safe. The wind picked up, dry and bitter. From inside her coat, Elara pulled a leather-bound journal, her grandfather's. Inside were sketches of old-world weapons, battle plans from centuries past, tactics that hadn't been used since Earth's steel still mattered. She traced a finger across one sketch, a mounted Gatling gun hidden in a canyon pass. They call us relics, she said quietly. Let them. In the shadows of Vandro's 4, as synthetic soldiers patrolled and strategists smirked, the old world stirred, not through digital warfare or orbital strikes, but through sweat, steel, and the promise of defiance. Because the past wasn't dead. It was just waiting to be reloaded. Dawn crept in gray and quiet. The canyon, a winding scar in Vandro's Ivy's northern ridge, lay still under morning mist. Jagged rock formations loomed like crooked teeth, each one marked with paint too faint for Imperial sensors to read. Beneath the stone and silence, war stirred. Elara crouched behind a bluff with Raj and 3 others from the militia. All wore dust-caked cloaks, simple breathing masks, and old-world helmets. Nothing digital. Nothing trackable. East approach, Raj whispered, peering through a scope. 10 soldiers, 2 drones. Marching in a textbook wedge. Good. Let them come, Elara said. Textbooks don't cover what's waiting. She turned to the weapon hidden beneath the camo tarp. The Gatling gun sat nestled in a carved alcove, barrels oiled and polished, ammo belts loaded and locked. The crank gleamed with recent grease. One good turn, and it would sing. They'd spent the night setting traps, old tripwires, directional smoke bombs, scattered magnesium flares. The terrain itself had been altered weeks before, some rocks drilled and wired with collapsing charges. Elara's team hadn't just built an ambush, they'd sculpted it. She glanced at her timepiece. 0632 hours. Positions, she ordered. The others disappeared behind outcroppings and boulders. Raj stayed beside her, crouched by the ammo belts. You really think this'll scare them? He asked, checking his revolver. I don't want to scare them. I want them confused. Scared comes later. The first Imperial squad entered the canyon's mouth. Silent, polished boots gliding across dusty rock. Their drones hummed above like metallic wasps, scanning for heat, movement, any sign of resistance. They found none. Elara waited. Let them go deeper. Let them relax. 50 meters in. 60. 70. Then a sharp snap, a boot across wire. The first trip activated. A magnesium flash exploded in their center, blinding white light followed by a wall of smoke. The formation broke. Contact! Contact! One shouted, their voice clipped through Imperial comms. Deploy shields, scan for ordnance. No ballistic signature, what is this? And that's when Elara cranked the handle. The Gatling gun spun with a growl that echoed off stone like a waking beast. Then came the roar, a stream of lead vomiting down the canyon in a relentless, unbroken line. The barrels rotated in a mechanical blur, spitting fire and metal. The first 2 soldiers were shredded before they could raise their rifles. The next group dove for cover, but there wasn't any. Their armor, designed to deflect plasma and disintegrate directed energy, crumpled like foil under the blunt force of kinetic rounds. The drones swerved, trying to locate the threat, but without a digital signal, they couldn't track the source. They hovered wildly, scanning empty air. Raj fed the ammo belts, shouting over the deafening clatter. 30 rounds left in this belt. Keep feeding. Elara yelled back, adjusting the aim. A soldier tried to retreat, but his leg caught another tripwire. A concussion charge detonated, sending him flying into the canyon wall. Where's it coming from? Came a panicked voice on the comms. No electronic origin. No targeting. It's manual. It's hand-cranked. The survivors tried to recalibrate. They'd been trained for insurgent tactics, but this was something alien to them, ancient, unpredictable. Their HUDs blinked warnings they didn't understand. Unidentified kinetic attack. No energy profile detected. Half the squad was down within the first 30 seconds. The rest scrambled backward, trying to return fire blindly. Alara ducked as bolts sizzled overhead, but their aim was wild, suppressed by smoke, noise, and confusion. Raj slapped in the next belt. The gun spun again. Another sweep of lead. 3 more soldiers dropped, their chest plates crumpled, their helmets cracked open. Blood slicked the rocks. The last 2 survivors bolted, leaving their dead behind. Silence returned slowly, broken only by the soft tick of cooling metal. Smoke curled through the canyon, drifting upward like incense from a battlefield altar. Alara let go of the crank. Her hands were trembling slightly. The gun clicked to a stop. Status? Raj leaned out and scanned. Dead. All but 2. They ran. Good. Let them tell the story. From the overlook above, another scout relayed data to the main militia camp. Ambush successful, the scout reported. 12 confirmed Kia. No militia losses. Gun intact. Alara stood and stretched her stiff back. The weight of the moment hadn't hit yet. The silence felt almost holy. What now? Raj asked. Now we disappear. We let them wonder how a crank-powered museum piece just tore through their elite unit. They disassembled the gun quickly, practiced and precise. It vanished into the rock wall via hidden pulley lifts. Within minutes, the canyon looked like nothing had happened, aside from the blood and shredded corpses left behind as a message. Up in orbit, Strategos Zeltrax Vorn stared at his command screen in silence. All telemetry lost? He asked. Confirmed, Strategos. Their weapon didn't broadcast. It doesn't exist in our threat catalog. He clenched his jaw. Primitive kinetic weaponry? That's impossible. They'd need recoil compensation. Ammunition logistics. Barrel cooling. Sir, reports say it was cranked. Zeltrax blinked. His mind raced. Cranked? Manual? No AI, no aiming subroutines? We underestimated them, his aide said quietly. No, Zeltrax muttered. We miscategorized them. They're not primitives. They're unorthodox. He closed the feed. Prepare the second wave. With drones. Bring atmospheric munitions. Should we inform High Command? No. Not yet. We handle this ourselves. We can't let it be known we were outmatched by a crankshaft. Back on the surface, Alara watched the canyon fade into distance behind their transport. The wind howled low across the rocks, as if echoing the gun's song. We just punched the Empire in the teeth, Raj said. No, Alara replied. We made them bleed. That's more dangerous. And in that wound, she knew, something would fester, doubt. The kind no armor could stop. Ask ChatGPT. Smoke still hung over the canyon like a ghost that refused to leave. In the aftermath of the ambush, the militia had gone silent. No taunts. No transmissions. Just absence, deliberate and maddening. The Empire had sent scouts to retrieve bodies. What came back wasn't just corpses, but questions. Too many questions. Why weren't the defenders broadcasting? Why hadn't the weapon left a digital trail? Why did none of the combat AI predict this? Strategos Zeltrax Vorn watched the field recordings in his command tent. Frame by frame, he analyzed the moment when the noise erupted, when the air filled with metal, when soldiers stumbled like puppets severed from their strings. A crank. A spinning crank had turned his elite unit into meat. He rubbed his temples, then gave a sharp nod to his aide. I'm going down there. Myself. With respect, Strategos, the aide began. That's an unnecessary risk. No. It's an overdue correction. Within the hour, Zeltrax landed on Vandro's 4. His escort flanked him, 6 guards in reinforced armor, each with drone-linked rifles and personal shielding. They walked through the canyon slowly, eyes scanning, nerves on edge. There was no second ambush. Just the silence. Zeltrax followed the scent of scorched metal and blood until he reached a ruined barn on the outskirts, one previously marked as a civilian structure. Its front was blown open. Inside, it was empty but for a table, 2 chairs, and a figure standing calmly in the corner. Elara Griggs. She didn't raise a weapon. She didn't flinch. She just pointed toward the Gatling gun resting behind her, now mounted upright like a sentry. "It's not loaded," she said. "But it doesn't need to be." The guards raised their rifles instinctively. Zeltrax waved them down. "So, you're the one who fired it." "We all did. I just cranked it." "You embarrassed the Galactic Empire with a toy. That toy tore through your arrogance like wet paper." Zeltrax stepped forward, gaze hard. "You're outgunned. Outnumbered. One relic weapon doesn't change that." "No," she said, folding her arms. "But it proved something. You're not ready for a war you can't model." He tilted his head. "Explain." "Your strategy is built on patterns. On compliance. Every target you face is predictable. We're not. We never were. Your AI can't track instinct. Your drones don't understand chaos. And none of your soldiers expected a hand crank to kill them." She let that hang in the air. Zeltrax said nothing. He didn't need to. The truth had already begun spreading through the lower ranks. Some patrols refused to enter narrow terrain now. Others doubled their armor, despite no further engagements. Fear was setting in, not of numbers, but of unpredictability. "I should raise this planet," he muttered. "But you won't." "Why not?" "Because your comms have already leaked what happened. Other colonies are watching. Some already tried what we did. And it worked." Zeltrax clenched his jaw. She wasn't bluffing. He'd seen the chatter, small ripple effects on fringe colonies. One on Orden 3 had used an old combustion rifle and downed a scout drone. Another had sabotaged a landing bay using steel ball bearings. No advanced tech. Just stubborn will and the forgotten tools of a dead Earth. "You think this makes you special?" he asked. "No," she replied. "It makes us dangerous." There was a long pause. Neither moved. "I want a truce," she said at last. "Not surrender. Truce. You leave Vandros for autonomous. No forced protocols. No mining requisitions. We stay neutral. You save face." Zeltrax stepped back. Laughed once, bitter and sharp. "You humiliate us, then offer diplomacy? You lost the moment your soldiers ran. I'm offering you an exit before more follow." He stared at her. Measured her. Finally, he nodded once, stiffly. "Temporary autonomy. Monitored. Fine. Monitor all you want. Just bring a pencil, not a gun." With that, he turned, his cloak swirling behind him. The guards hesitated, then followed. No one looked back. A week later, Imperial shuttles lifted off Vandros 4. Not in defeat, officially it was a tactical redeployment. But no new forces replaced them. Back at the militia base, Elara watched the skies clear. Raj stood beside her, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "You think they'll be back?" he asked. "Eventually. Maybe different ships. Different orders." "Then what do we do?" She glanced at the gun, now resting under a tarp again. "We teach. We train. And we build more crankshafts." Raj smiled. "Think anyone will believe we actually won?" "They don't have to believe. They just have to know it's possible." She pulled out her grandfather's journal, turned to a blank page, and began writing. Across the outer colonies, words spread like wildfire. Not propaganda, stories. Not of armies or lasers, but of a canyon, a crank, and the thunder of something ancient that tore apart the most powerful military force in the galaxy. In bunkers, in barns, in classrooms, humans began digging through old tech. Restoring old weapons. Sharpening tactics no one had practiced in generations. Not for nostalgia. But for preparation. Because history hadn't ended. It had just been waiting for a handle to spin again. Tools.